Why? Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogboat333, and welcome back to the new campaign trail. Last time we hopped into the campaign trail, it was 1964 with the Viva Kennedy mod. We played with John F. Kennedy. God bless his soul. Who survived his assassination attempt and faced off against Barry Goldwater in the 1964 election. We fucking pummeled Goldwater. Went everything east of the Mississippi except for Indiana and the Vermont and New Hampshire. Got a good chunk of the West Coast, both of the disconnected states from the 48. We absolutely creamed Goldwater. And now we're going to go ahead and hop in to the next in the timeline. The 1968 elections. After 8 years of President Kennedy, Vice President Lyndon Johnson has won the Democratic nomination. The Republicans have renominated the 1960 candidate Richard Nixon, who feels that after 8 years of Democrats, he may win this time. Meanwhile, George Wallace, angry at the Civil Rights Act of 1968, declares his candidacy as an independent, barring both candidates from the South. LBJ will have to defend Kennedy's legacy as well as himself from his former scandals. Richard Nixon will have to prove that after 8 years he's still a viable candidate and prove that it's time for a change from Kennedy's liberalism. And George Wallace will have to show up enough support to split the Electoral College in order to defend the rights of his states. If you can't tell by the calendar down here, I'm filming this on November 8th, and this is an election day over in the States. You have the midterms over here in the corner, paying attention as things update. Not too strictly, but it felt right. It really did feel right to play some new campaign trail on this day. So we're going to be playing it. Jumbo Wave 1968. That's what I like to see. So what I'm going to do, two different little games. I'm going to, one, go for the optimal route and try to win as much as I can as LBJ. So I'll be doing a little bit of inspect element, I think, perhaps. Forgive me, or bite me if you don't like it. I'm not quite sure. And then there's a secret ending to the Viva Kennedy mod that I want to try to do. You have to play easiest difficulty because it's a pain in the ass to get otherwise. But we're going to be going ahead and trying to get that after we optimize our chances. But we might as well start with our normal game. So we're starting off with Lyndon B. Johnson, Democrat from the state of Texas. Lyndon B. Johnson is the incumbent vice president of the United States, serving 2 successful terms under President Kennedy. 4 years ago, Johnson's career almost ended due to scandals surrounding his secretary, Bobby Baker. Yet, following the tragic death of Robert F. Kennedy, Johnson was able to surge as a frontrunner and clinch for nomination. Nevertheless, this will not be an easy campaign. Johnson is up against stiff opposition in Richard Nixon. He can no longer count on the solid South with George Wallace's insurgent candidacy. Johnson will need to balance the popularity of the Kennedy administration and offering solutions to some of the remaining issues plaguing the nation. Will Johnson be able to build a greater society, or will he fall short to America's ultimate comeback kid? Let's figure it out. So we have a couple different options for VPs. I think the best one generally is Hubert Humphrey. So we're going to go with old Hubert, who was his actual VP in 1964. Fun fact. Hubert Humphrey is a senator from Minnesota and one of the leading liberal voices in the Democratic Party. Having been a strong advocate for civil rights, Humphrey was allegedly on the short list to replace he was vice president on the 1964 ticket. He was also in competition for the nomination this year, though ultimately he has been a supporter of you since you emerged as frontrunner. Humphrey would certainly inspire votes for better wars, pulling in the northern bloc while driving the south even farther to Wallace. Ultimately, choosing Humphrey would be drawing lines in the sand for the party, but could be one of the better choices to keep you competitive against Nixon. So we're a Democrat from home state of Minnesota. Imperial Drylander reference, question mark. Nixon looks like he sniffs spike seats. You really want this man facing down Brezhnev. Foxen, hello, my friend. How are you? So we're going to do winner take all, normal difficulty. There we go. Load in the map. All hail a dogboat. Thank you, Foxen. I appreciate that. How are you doing, sir? How are you on this fine day? So this is the map as it is set up right now. Um, most of West Coast is ever so slightly leaning Nixon. Solid. We have the South either leaning Nixon or Wallace. A couple of the important northern states leaning Nixon, though barely. Although we do have some of the West Coast states leaning our way. Just woke up to see election stuff. Well, you're seeing some election stuff. Probably not the ones you were thinking of, but anyway. We're just going to play some new campaign trail to celebrate the election. Take it we're not even going to bother with Racing HQ, the Deep South. The Deep South, no. But I'm going to try to get as much electoral votes as you can. Try to play as optimally as possible. And so we'll mess around with the Upper South a little bit. After a long and contentious primary, you've managed to emerge as this year's Democratic nominee. What themes will you focus on as you deliver your acceptance speech? To the thousands of onlookers in Chicago and around the nation. Well, the economy is a winning issue for Democrats that all Americans can get behind. I will reflect on the progress we've made under the Kennedy administration and then pivot to my own ideas to make the economy even stronger. Not bad at all. Most of Kennedy's economic policies have been considered successful, and tying yourself to such a popular administration will probably help you. Helps us ever so slightly, looks like. Why am I forgetting his name? Missouri. Straight, it could go either way if the election was held today. Thankfully, we got enough for 24 questions till we get there. As the DNC comes to close, you've officially announced Minnesota Senator Hubert Humphrey as your running mate. Would you like to clarify this choice to your voters? Well, Hubert Humphrey represents the future of this party. He's the most qualified person there is to be vice president. Humphrey will still drive away some Southerners, but many voters can tell your reluctance to play up your running mate too much. Helps a little bit in Minnesota, I notice. Or Minnesota. Missouri, I notice. Gonna visit a few states in order to try to get this to work. The ones I'm going to try to focus on, I'll focus a little bit on Alaska. So we'll start going to Alaska. Following your speech at the DNC, the Southern delegates walked out of this convention. Alabama Governor George Wallace announced his candidacy for president as an American independent, taking the lead in several southern states. Will you focus on retaining the Southern Democratic voters, or keep focus on the key states in the North and West? In order to do this, we're going to have to turn to the South. So, I won't be ceding the South to Wallace. I'm also from the South, and you can bet that we'll be using that as much as possible to keep a Democratic base with us. Your civil rights agenda may mean that some states are lost causes, but it could help to stay competitive in the region. The states we're going to mainly worry about are... It's pretty easy to flip Kentucky no matter what you do, what path you go. Arkansas can be swingy, but it's going to be pretty solid if we focus on this. The ones we'll be focusing on are Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. We're going to try to see if we can flip those three. It might end up meaning that we end up sacrificing New Mexico. New Jersey can be a little bit tight as well, but with good RNG, we can get it. Okay, so the last 8 years have seen a steady growth for the economy, and unemployment and poverty are on the decline. By and large, these improvements have been distributed to President Kennedy's tax plan. How would you maintain a strong economy in your term? Well, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. The economy is fine as it is. Instead, let's divert to the social programs we have planned to support the economy. Not bad. You still benefit from the stellar economy, but also stand out for your own ideas to improve it. That actually hurts us more in Alaska. I'm not a fan of that. Let's take a trip over to Virginia for now. Last year, President Kennedy sent supplies to Israel in lead up to the 4 Days War, leading in the occupation of the Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula, and more Middle Eastern regions. While the operation was successful, some feel it was an overextension of U.S. resources. Do you support it? Support Kennedy's actions, and would you offer similar support to Israel? Israel's been a fantastic ally of the U.S. since the start of the Cold War. It's only fair that we respond with similar support when they are in need. I support President Kennedy's actions completely. Some conservatives are critical of Kennedy's inserting the U.S. into yet another foreign conflict, but it's overall net positive that you've sided with the administration here. I'm not sure. Right, because of 6 days, 4-day war here. The amount of riots breaking out in America has steadily increased over the 60s, peaking this year following the death of Martin Luther King. What's your plan to stop these riots from continuing to escalate? Well, these riots are unsurprising. You step on a man's neck for 300 years, what do you expect him to do when you finally move the boot? We need to work on healing the nation. That means stopping the riots, but also means working together to build a better America. This is a good response that clearly announces the riots, but also acknowledges their significance. So we're taking the lead in California, a little close in Oregon, a little close in Nevada as well, but it's coming along. We'll swing by Alaska. Recently, Nixon has been hitting you hard on the investigation opened 4 years ago regarding your involvement with Bobby Baker. While it was deemed inconclusive in 1965, these attacks are having a clear effect on voters. How would you like to rebuke these attacks? Let's make one end-all be-all speech on this issue like Kennedy did about his Catholicism. We can put this issue to bed and stop my opponents dead in their tracks. Speech goes over okay, though it's not quite as effective as Kennedy's speech from 1960. It may be enough to prevent further attacks, however. Starting last year, President Kennedy began peace talks between the North and South Vietnam. There's been no official agreement reached. There is speculation that one is just around the corner. While he was shown skepticism, President Kennedy, regarding Vietnam in the past, would you support such a peace agreement? Hawkish on the Cold War. They're moderate in Alaska. Hawkish in New Mexico. I'm pretty hawkish in the South states that I might be able to flip. Well, I commend President Kennedy for keeping America out of the war, but I plan to go into his negotiations with fresh eyes. The reality is this war could have been easily finished with more aggressive intervention, and I plan to remind the North Vietnamese of such. Let's not tell them right now, or the American people, but this is a decent answer if you want to look tough on defense, but some liberals are uneasy. Why, America and Vietnam? I can't see anything going wrong there. Anyway, let's head over to North Carolina. In 1960, President Kennedy was able to win key states thanks to Union voters, which trended even more in his favor in 1964. This year, however, Wallace has made a strong play for the Union vote, which could significantly affect the outcome of the election. How would he make appeals to this key voting bloc? Well, you need to remind voters who they're dealing with. Wallace is a former governor of the most anti-union states in the nation. I've spent 8 years in a pro-union administration, and my ticket's committed to protecting them. Who do you trust? While many union voters are wary of your platform, your running mate and his credentials have swayed them in your favor. There we go. During his election, President Kennedy saw great success by using television ads to boost his profile. Some of the very ads he used against Nixon may have been what propelled him to the White House. To what extent do you plan to use ads in your campaign, and in what matter? Well, we'll do ads, but I'm not pulling my punches like Jack did. I'll hammer Nixon constantly, anything we can get dirt on. People need to understand the true risk of a Nixon administration. Election truly is 3 filthy animals in a pit slinging mud at each other. At the very least, you're open about it. And there we go. Actually a little bit behind in the West Coast now, but we're picking up in some of these southern states. And Alaska, which we'll visit another time. Just be safe. Prior to RFK's candidacy, John F. Kennedy had given a half-hearted comment to the press implying his support of George Wallace for the Democratic nomination. Since then, he's not come out in support of any candidate and stated that he will not be given an official endorsement out of respect for his late brother. Will he try to change his mind? Without me, Kennedy couldn't have passed a bill to wipe his own ass through Congress. I'll be sure to remind him of that when I explain why he's going to give me his endorsement. Evoking the recent hard-fought battle for the Civil Rights Act, still making his last lap for Congress, Kennedy reluctantly agrees, and a week later appears with you on national television and give you a formal endorsement. There we go. That should help us an okay amount. It's very close in Virginia, North Carolina. South Carolina is still within reach, I think. Gab and Greece have been in Alaska, actually. Given their influence in 1960-1964 campaigns, would you be interested in challenging Nixon to a debate? And if so, would you advocate for a formal setting such as 1960 or the open discussion format of 1964? Well, sure as shit we're going to debate Nixon, and we're going to do it with open discussion debates. I've always done better with open and loose anyhow. Good show, Jumbo. You've given Nixon the smackdown all across the country. Looks like you repeated Kennedy's success, and the polls reflect just that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's check the electoral vote. We don't quite have the majority yet, but we're getting there. We just gotta... I think we're pretty close to swapping over Wisconsin and Ohio, so once we do that, we'll be okay. And meanwhile, I'll head over to Virginia. Earlier this year, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty was opened for signature, which would be the first step toward nuclear disarmament. President Kennedy has been a strong proponent of such a treaty, which support this treaty and is armed control a high priority of your administration. Good thing Nixon has a person out of a wet paper bag. True. This treaty represents an act of good faith on both sides of the Cold War. While it's unlikely we will reach total disarmament in the near future, we should celebrate the steps we can take. This is a good, moderate response to the treaty. Following the assassination of MLK Jr., there's been a renewed outcry for a Civil Rights Act. President Kennedy has publicly called on the Congress to pass his new Civil Rights Bill and has been counting on you to drum up votes. As a candidate for president, what's your position on the bill? Well, I can think of no better way to honor the life and work of MLK than to pass this bill. It's time America moves forward on this issue. It's an expected response from you and will appeal to almost any non-Southerner. It doesn't hurt us too much in the South, which is kind of what I was going for. And we're picking back up in Alaska, which you love to see. So I think I can sacrifice some more time to pay attention to, let's do South Carolina. Early this year, Chief Justice Earl Warren officially resigned from the Supreme Court, leaving a vacancy. Warren was a staunchly liberal justice, and Kennedy's nominated liberal favorite Cyrus Vance to take his place. While it's unlikely to be confirmed before January, many Democrats are hoping you support his nomination should you win. Who will you nominate for his vacancy? Well, I prefer Homer Thornberry, a fellow Southerner like myself. He'll stand strong on the most important issues of our time, such as civil rights, and will defend our Constitution to the best of his ability. Thornberry is a decent pick if you want to expand your appeal, but the party's not too happy with you. Well, the South is. That's what I was counting on. Look at that. We're within a couple points at this point. Pun not intended. The U.S. officially won the space race when NASA put the first man on the moon in November 1967. President Kennedy has been celebrated for making good on his promise. You've been a strong proponent of NASA in the past. Would you continue funding NASA in your term? Well, of course I support funding for NASA. Before Jack said, we choose to go to the moon, I was the one insisting on making a major part of our platform. We'll be actively supporting them in future research. Moon landing was one of Kennedy's crown achievements, and it's best to support it. It is basically a tie in Virginia. Let's work on South Carolina. The GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, concluded negotiations late into 1966, lowering tariffs in favor of international trade. President Kennedy had a large part in these new terms. What was your position on this agreement? Well, I certainly support international trade. However, I would have fought harder for certain sectors, such as agriculture, to ensure American workers were protected. Probably the best answer. Many of the Rust Belt felt Kennedy made too many concessions for this agreement. Is it the Rust Belt by now? I'm not quite sure. But, whew, look at that blue. That is beautiful. Let's see this one in Louisiana. Oh, Nolans will go blue. Not in this timeline, sadly. But we got a fair bit of the South leaning that way. Since President Kennedy took office, there's been an increase in crime across the country, hitting a new record this year. The Kennedy administration has maintained that this is an issue of racial relations, and most voters are looking for more decisive action. How do you plan to tackle the current crime rate? Well, crime requires a two-pronged attack. First, you give police and prisons the resources they need so they can properly address the crime we've been seeing. But secondly, you give support to the communities who are the most susceptible to turning to crime, the poor, the unemployed. You strike at the heart of the issue, so you don't just lower the crime rate, you keep it low. This plays over quite well. You don't try to beat the other candidates at their own game, but you provide a well-balanced plan that will appeal to both your base and moderates. Heck yeah. We're even leading in North Carolina right now. I'll take a visit over to Nevada real quick. This week, Paul Corbin, a former aide to Robert Kennedy, has come forward claiming that you and the late senator had a hostile relationship, citing multiple instances of you being openly nasty with Kennedy, referring to him as, quote, that little shit-ass, unquote. This story has the potential to seriously damage your campaign in these critical last few weeks. How will you respond? This is where the RNG gets funky. I'm going to select this one. Is that the right one? I think it's 81. I think 81 is the right code. Yeah, it was. Sorry to cheat, but lucky for you, nothing major came of this, but the story is still damaging and further supports rumors of rifts between you and the sitting president. So that hurts us a little bit. But we're still in contention. The last 4 years have seen several of President Kennedy's New Frontier programs pass through Congress, including the Economic Opportunity Act and Medicare. You've been instrumental in their passage. We really support them in your term. New Frontier has been a great success, and in that spirit, I'm announcing my own Great Society initiative. In my term, I hope to pass a new Education Act to revitalize our schools, as well as a Food Stamp Act to further support the war on poverty. It'll lose some conservative support, but this is an answer that excites Americans who are content with Kennedy's current programs. Excellent. Excellent. I'll do a visit over to New Jersey real quick. Following Khrushchev's fall in '64, plans for a second summit between President Kennedy and the leader of the Soviet Union fell through, being there has been a conference between two leaders since 1961. Would you be willing to meet with Brezhnev in your term? Yes, I would. In fact, in my first priority when I get into office, I saw firsthand the importance of communicating during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I make every effort to keep those lines of I will make every effort to make those lines of communication open. Most voters supportive enough for summits, so this should go over quite nicely. Recently, women's rights activists have joined civil rights activists in fighting for more equality. The current Civil Rights Act includes provisions addressing gender equality. President Kennedy has even come out in support of an Equal Rights Amendment. Would you pursue such an amendment? Women's rights, civil rights, equal rights. This is the fight of the Democratic Party. I support any effort to bring justice to the American people, including an Equal Rights Amendment. This statement brings loud cheers from across the nation. There we go. We got the women on our side with that. I'll head over to... I think we'll be able to flip over Alaska. I'll work on Virginia for now. So election draw is clear. John F. Kennedy's civil rights bill is heading back to the Senate for one final vote. As champion of Congress, you could potentially influence a vote. Will you intervene? I want to keep our focus on the campaign. We'll make multiple speeches expressing the importance of passing the bill. My running mate, meanwhile, can reach out to Congress directly and try to sway the votes. And while you rally your support and build anticipation for the bill's passage, your running mate is hard at work with liberal Democrats and Republicans and manages to get the bill passed. This will give some extremely positive press to your campaign. Beautiful. We're winning in a lot of these places, really. Got the lead. New Mexico was a little close. If we put a few more resources, we could possibly win that. With Election Day drawing near, you have the opportunity to make one final appeal to the working American people. One message you want to stick with voters as they head to the polling booths. I want to appeal to my fellow Southerners. It's been a divisive election, but I'm not turning my back on the swing. I'm committed to my moderate, solution-focused administration, and that's my promise to the voters. Make it a hard play for Southern voters, and it could help you in a few states, but it'll cost you for your Northern base. But not too badly, I think. Look at that. If this all holds through, of course, we'll be okay. I'm going to take one last trip over to Alaska. See if that can flip it to us. Meanwhile, it's the day before election. You have time for one last campaign trick. The states you visit on this day could be pivotal to your victory. What would you like to go to? Well, I'm a Southern man. Let's spend the day in the South. We'll start on Carolinas, head over to Tennessee, and then one last stop in Arkansas before heading back to Austin. This last-minute trip across the South can make or break your campaign. Good luck, Mr. Vice President. Election has arrived. Settle in and wait for the turns, however long it may take. Best of luck. This is, of course, the most important election screen to pay attention to tonight. Let's see, boys. What do you think? How well do you think we'll do? I think Dems will win. I'm there with you. Where I run 16 over 13. Wallace has taken 12. We got Mass in Rhode Island. Wallace has taken the deep south. We got Maine. That's nice to see. Got Ohio, D.C., Maryland, Pennsylvania, Texas, of course, Missouri, and Minnesota. Florida's been called. That's a big one. But we're getting a lot of these. We got Arkansas. We won the election already with that. We got North Carolina. That is nice to see. It's all coming together so far. I'm curious about how South Carolina's going to play out. Ooh, didn't quite win that one. We still got North Carolina and Virginia, and that's okay. Got Hawaii. New Mexico was kind of close. Got Nevada, got California. All comes down to Alaska. Please, Alaska, don't let me down. Don't break my... Yeah! Let's go, Alaska! Look at that. 378 to 101 to 59. I'm sorry, I did not mean to scare you. I was just very excited to see that we got Alaska. Alaska Pog. Go to final results. You did it! You won the election. It was always expected to be a tough fight, but it looks like your choice in running mate helped you show up enough support to the left to pull off the victory. It was a bit of a close race, unsurprising given that this will be your party's third consecutive term, but for the first time since Martin Van Buren, incumbent vice president will directly follow their two-term president. Kenny calls congratulate you, and is hopeful Humphrey will help keep you in line during your tenure. On the domestic front, you can fight to further the civil rights agenda, and abroad, finalize a peace deal in Vietnam. Just be prepared to whip some votes in your favor. If all goes well, you can run for election in 1972. Just make sure to do your part to appease moderates over the next 4 years. Good luck, Jumbo. You're going to need it. They have the exact same reaction. Not bad at all. I'm curious. I want to check results by state, closest states. Arkansas had a faithful selector. South Carolina was only 4,000 votes off. The rest of these weren't too close, though. It's about a percentage point in there. Alaska, about a percentage point. New Mexico could have been a bit closer. North Carolina, kind of close. The rest of these were pretty good. So real quick, we're gonna do the. I'm gonna try to get the secret ending. I brought it up in the beginning. We're gonna do Johnson Humphrey again. Submit. 68. Johnson Humphrey. We're gonna do cakewalk difficulty because we're gonna need enough help as we can to cover our ass. You understand why? We're gonna do all these optimal answers. I'm gonna go to California. Let him have Alabama. We'll keep it focused where it needs to be on Nixon. It's a faithful elector, by the way. So everyone in the electoral college vote doesn't vote for result that happened, but rather what they want. That is what a faithful elector is. You are correct. Well, as polls continue rising in the South, but we've got enough support elsewhere, it won't matter. I'm going to speed run through this. Let's bolster our support in Ohio. You might be wondering, what do we need to do to get the secret ending? You'll see when we get there. It's a very distinct... Illinois. Who do you trust? Open discussion debates. Speed running through this. We'll go fully supportive. In fact, we want to go further. First act, the president will be proposing a fair housing bill and a voting rights bill. We need to keep striving towards the future envisioned by the late Reverend King. Putting up more of a distance between ourselves and the South, but you make more than make up for it with enthusiasm among our base. Beautiful. That should help us. And Missouri will appear to Lorna Lockwood. Serves the courts of Arizona for years, and her record's impeccable. Monumental and inspired choice for this position. Your liberals, appease liberals and galvanize women voters. Remember, they're a swing group too. I would have fought hard in certain sectors. Let's go back to question 19. You guys can scratch your memories. This week, Paul Corbin, a former aide to Robert Kennedy, has come forward claiming that even the late senator had a hostile relationship, citing multiple instances of you being openly nasty with Kennedy and referring to him as that little shit ass. The story has the potential to seriously damage your campaign if he's critical the last few weeks. How will you respond? Take a look at the map as it is now. 470 potential blowout, right? Have you ever considered that maybe Robert Kennedy just wasn't that likable? For Christ's sake, his own brother didn't want to hire him in his own administration. That little shit-ass had everything handed to him from daddy. You're gonna dredge up tabloid gossip about the President of the United States and his beloved, recently deceased brother? I think you should call Barry Goldwater for campaign advice. Oh, God! It's rough. I'm not gonna lie, it's rough. Well, let's see if we can catch back up. Go back to California. We're starting to pick up the slack in a couple of these areas. Got the Civil Rights Act. That's helping us in a couple of these areas. If we can lock down the West Coast. President, our task is not to do what is right, but to know what is right. I pray that I'm qualified to make the call and committed to every single American of every single background to make those decisions for utmost care and consideration. This doesn't make a particular statement on policy or actions, but just send a clear message that will strike well with most Americans. If we can... Okay, let's see if this will do it for us. I'm going to pop over the midterms real quick. Seeing some results come in. Let's see. Why are we shit on Kennedy? It's supposed to get the secret ending. If we win the election, we get a secret ending. If we shit on Kennedy. Hopefully we get it, because I don't want to go back and, Ohio flipped. That's not good. But we got Missouri. If we can get Illinois, California, and Washington, I think we have it. This is going to the House. Shit. We did not have a good RNG run then. Okay. I'm sorry if this video goes longer than it should. Economy. We're going to play as hard as we can. Going to say that, yep, we're going to do all that. Who do you trust? That's meds. Anything we can get dirt on. Discussion debates. Gonna lean as hard into the left as we can. Lorna Lockwood. Before we want to support the space race. Rust Belt. Say it with me, that little shit ass had everything handed to him from daddy. Tanks are support. Can I get it? I've been able to get it before. I'm gonna try to hit hard into the left. Rally the base. Okay, if we can win Ohio, we should be good. Rust Belt. Can we win the election? A couple of updates on the IRL vote. Go ahead and let me know. I'm just gonna skip. God damn it! Oh, we're one off! Fuck off! Fucking Ohio. Okay, we're gonna put all our resources into fucking Ohio. I'm sorry this is going longer for you two people. I'm not surprised about the governor in Georgia race. I gotta do select normal instead of cakewalk, which I need to do. I swear, stick around if you can, folks, because this is cool. This is cool. Focus on Ohio. Focus on the north. Don't the will. Oh, shit. Put a little bit in Wisconsin as well. Wisconsin. Open discussion debates. Yeah, that's checking out so far. House race. No Senate changes yet. Little shit ass. should be in range to make up. I'll focus on California a bit. Ohio. Sweet. Please. Fuck. God damn it. Cost us California costed this time, and Illinois. I'm just going to pull up the secret ending on Reddit, and we're just going to pretend that I got it. And that's what we're going to do. So just pretend that we managed to pull this off. It was mid-November, and President-elect Johnson had been touring the country, celebrating his victory. He'd already made his way through New England. Now he was riding in a motorcade with Vice President-elect Humphrey, President Kennedy, and Governor Dempsey of Massachusetts through streets of adoring supporters in Boston. Suddenly, without warning, gunshots. First one that hit Governor Dempsey's shoulder, causing him to collapse in the car. Then another, this one fatal, right into Johnson's head. Chaos immediately ensued as Lady Bird Johnson clutched her husband, and the car roared towards the nearest hospital. He was declared dead within the hour. That night, President Kennedy had two important phone calls to make. First, he called a recently released convict he had unfinished business with. Oswald, it's Jack. I want to thank you for taking care of my problem, Alia. I couldn't stand to let the bastard live after the things he said about my family. As promised, your record's been wiped. You're a free man. His second call of the night was to Vice President-elect Humphrey. Hubert, how are you? Now, it's been a very dark night for our country. I'm very sorry about all this. I wanted to call you, though, because there's still the issue of the presidency. See, this has never happened before, but most of us agree you will be entitled to his electoral votes. Hubert, you're going to be the president. Humphrey will be inaugurated January 20th, 1969, and serve for 2 successful terms. Clap it up for President Hubert Humphrey of Minnesota. Sure, I would be proud. Anyway, I'm sorry it took us that long to end up just pulling it up on Reddit, but I hope you all enjoyed it. I think Kev might have had his mind blown a little bit. Anyhow, thanks for watching, my friends. New campaign trail. If I remember, the link will be in the description below. Check it out. Credit, as always, to the mod developer, Jake Dionysus, or however you say his name. But, create a very solid mod over here. It's a lot of fun. And you should be proud, because you did a good job. Anyway. If you like, if not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content, feature the sub button for uploads weekdays as well as occasionally Saturdays. I mainly do strategy game content, but I like to do some new campaign trail every once in a while. So if you're interested in any of that, hit the sub button. Check it out. Check if you have any comments, feedback, suggestions for series to do, anything like that, leave it in the comment section below. I read all the comments again. Appreciate any feedback you might have for me. If you want to see me do stuff live, like this video actually, right now, Twitch is the place to do it. You can check that out as well as my various links down in the description box below. Discord, Patreon, second channel. And yeah, that's really it for now, my friends. My name has been Mr. Dogbot33. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.